Let us first understand what willpower is. Willpower is a real force that emanates from your being. It is what makes your arms and legs move. They don't just move randomly by themselves, you know. They move the way that they do because you express your will to make them do so. You use the same will to hold on to thoughts and emotions when you want to focus on them. Now, please understand this. This is the exact same willpower, the same one that animates cats, dogs, creates the grass, makes the planets and the stars move, fashions galaxies and universes. It is the same. Just like the breath that you take is the same that the cat, the plant, the fish, the dog, and so on takes. Although they all use different breathing devices, but the breath is the same. Your will is the same power that you call divine will. It is, in fact, a control interface, a universal control interface that is shared by all life forms or consciousnesses. Yet, each life form or consciousness applies it differently. The power of spirit, when it is concentrated and directed into the physical, mental, emotional, or other etheric realms, creates a force, and we call that force willpower. That's what you use when you try to make things happen or not happen. You are not helpless in there. You have the power to affect things. You always have choice. It is the same power that moves universes. However, most humans actually use their willpower against themselves unconsciously. And that is where the problem lies. To better understand this problem, we once again primarily study the work of Michael Singer in The Untethered Soul, for he words it brilliantly. I will now paraphrase his words and provide further clarification. Universal energy is incredibly powerful, and it moves through you as it moves through all things. Yet, amazingly, you actually have the ability to resist these movements of energy. Your assertion of willpower can block the energy flow, and that's what creates tension within you and upsets the whole system, because that blocked energy has to somehow find a way through your incredible willpower wall. You can wear yourselves out struggling with the experience of a single event, or even a single thought or emotion, and indeed most of us have done so. That is because of the physics of willpower, literally holding back universal energy flow, and this is what is called resistance. This is how powerful you are. When you resist, the energy gets stuck in your psyche and starts to wreak havoc. If you hadn't resisted, the energy would have passed through without creating disturbance. In fact, all energy flow, all of it, expands you. So, if that is the case, if all energy is for your benefit, why do you resist? Why do you use willpower against some energy flows? I'll tell you why. It's because of fear. Fear convinces you to close down. Fear fools you into thinking that resistance will keep you safe. Yet, resistance doesn't keep you safe. It simply blocks energy, overloads your heart and your system, and this energy stays with you, and as it tries to move on, it recreates your past again and again, the past that you tried to avoid and to block. And it does so because it is trying to find an opportunity to leave your system. Yet, each time the past repeats itself and you block it again and again, the problem gets worse. It gets compounded until something fails in the system, a systemic failure. That is why resistance is a terrible idea. It defies the physics of consciousness, of energy flow. Allow your spiritual path to be the openness and the willingness to let whatever happens make it through you unimpeded. That is the way of the silent witness who sits at the seat of the soul, observing and growing from all that energy flow that passes through. This is how you stay clear from carrying the past old energies into your future. Karma is unfinished business, meaning old energies that are trying to get resolved. Karma is an engine that drives people, and it literally works because of the old energies that are carrying from the past. And these energies repeat their circumstances over and over until the person learns to open and flow, to drop fear and therefore drop resistance. So, how do you use your willpower to deal with your daily situations without applying resistance? Well, whenever a situation arises, begin with acceptance first. Always begins with acceptance. Acceptance means that events can make it through you without resistance. Then, within that acceptance, deal with the situation. In other words, you deal with them as impersonal events taking place in the universe that you are a part of. You don't take them personally, as personal problems or personal opportunities, and then judge them for or against. When you adopt this open stance, you will begin to notice that although actions still need to be taken in response to activity around you, the only thing you really need to deal with here is your fears. Because if you're watchful, you will notice that your fears drive your preferences. In fact, the voice in your head is almost exclusively talking about your preferences, what you wish to happen or not happen, who you wish to be or not be, what you wish to have or not have, who you think is a good guy or a bad guy. All of which are your personal preferences based on your conditioned and programmed fears. Once again, they are all your personal preferences, and they are all based on your conditioned and programmed fears. Even the clothes that you wear are designed to have you accepted and valued in a way that you have believed makes you good or worthy or acceptable, and so on. And if you are to wear something completely different, you would feel uncomfortable, which is an indication of a fear of acceptance, for example. Now, what is the reward of living in this open fashion without resistance? Well, when the world moves through you without resistance, of course you get to live in the present moment without the baggage of carrying your past. You do not accumulate blocked up energies. This means that everything becomes clear and you become lighter. You no longer struggle with your personal conditioned reactions. You don't have to keep fighting with your fears and anxieties and desires with so much confusion and energy that you feel drained or lost or always trying to catch up or fit in or whatever. And this opens you up to the universe instead of keeping you locked inside your little conditioned walls. And this brings us to the question, what is surrender? To answer that, let us consider personal will versus divine will. And let us first understand that there is no such separation that exists. There is no personal will that is separate from divine will. There is only will. The same will that animates an ant or a mosquito is the same that animates a human or a universe. So now, from that understanding, let us examine the illusion of personal will versus divine will. Personal will is simply the idea of having your unconscious ego, which is your illusion of a separate self, controlling your will. This sense of a separate self believes in the idea of me against the world. And from this idea, it tries to manipulate will in ways designed to avoid bumping into its fears. This is what we think of as personal will, and we are afraid of relinquishing it to anyone, even to our own divinity. Yet, paradoxically, as long as the unconscious ego is in charge, we have already relinquished our will to our fears, to socialization, to conditioning and programming. Now, divine will. Divine will is a concept of being the silent witness who faces life without resistance. That is all that it is. Surrendering to divine will is simply living without resistance. That is all. You don't need to make a religion out of it. It is that simple. simply living without resistance to what life brings you moment to moment. When life brings you joyful moments, take them in fully and enjoy without questioning whether you are worth it or deserving of it. When life brings you challenges to solve, take them in fully and resolve them without questioning your powers and taking on the victim position. Life itself will support you either way, as long as you do not close up. It is that simple. You do not need to make a religion out of it.